Obviously, I'm going for monkey fish.
Do I have a choice?
No. I stole it.
Okay. Old pendulous breast herself.
Chase you through a cave. I know you do outside.
And we're going to talk about how wrong you are after this.
It just doesn't stop being good.
No,
Hello
always
and
good.
welcome to Monsters Lounge. My name is Jeni.
And I'm Tressa.
Perfect. Then we're both
Thanks.
in the space that we're supposed to be in.
Huzzah!
Huzzah.
Hey, Jeni, there was this TikTok I saw today, and
You
it was
didn't even
this
let me
lady.
ask.
Nope. And she's been just like showing her progress into moving into this new apartment, and she's like doing this crazy TikTok dance and unpacking, and then she turns around and there's somebody in her apartment, and she's like freaking out because why is this guy in her apartment? And she's running out of her apartment because she's scared. And the door opens on its own. And she didn't even realize because she was so scared. But she's fully like using her camera, like she's just holding her phone and like running. And the phone captures the door opening on its own. And then she gets to the second door and opens it herself. But then all this other crazy stuff happened. Whereas you could see imprints in the bed, and then some other I don't care.
So
the cool, fun stuff.
Listen.
Yeah, what's up?
So she got so scared in her apartment that she grabbed the phone and started recording.
No. She was recording herself doing a little dance, and then she's like, "Oh my God, there's someone in my apartment," and this guy's just standing there like, "Hey, what's up? I broke into your apartment," and so she grabs her phone. She's like, and she gets her phone, and she like, "Okay, bye," and like runs, and then as she's going to the door, like you could see, with the jibbly jabbly phone camera.
This has got to be one of the worst TikTok stories you've told.
It was neat. It was a friendly, because all this other stuff that I don't want to get into because I thought it was boring. Her apartment's fully haunted, but the ghost was like, "Oh, you need a little help. Let me open that door for you real quick because you are scared."
You know, if the ghost wanted to help, why weren't they helping unpacking?
That's what? Ghosts don't unpack. What are you talking about?
They open
That's
doors?
crazy.
Like what?
Yeah.
Why?
They don't know where your towels go. People are very specific about where they want their things to go.
I'm going to need you to take back like 5 notches.
What? Why would you ask anyone to unpack your things? They don't know where you want your stuff.
5 notches. 5 notches. It wasn't a personal insult towards you.
I feel like it was.
It wasn't. You need to calm down.
I feel like I gotta go now.
All right. We'll see you later. I got this one. I know you didn't leave.
That is correct.
That is correct.
So what's going on with you, Jeni?
Listen, I have very exciting news just for me though. I just passed my nitrox certification tonight. Yes, I can now.
Congratulations!
I can now scuba dive with enriched air. So I'm very excited.
That's
excited about this.
I know that is a really big thing for you, and I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. Up next is like
my tummy.
Underwater photography, and then some more certificate. I'm just gonna collect them, and then I'm gonna just scuba dive.
Catch them all.
And that's where you're gonna find me all the time.
I'm not going to find you there because I will not be down there, but that's exciting.
You can hang out on the beach, and I will come up sometimes, and we will share a sandwich, a grilled cheese sandwich, and then I will go back to the ocean.
That's my favorite.
Just like the story of the Little Mermaid.
Yep. I'll have a fork for you.
All right. So enough of this ridiculousness. That is so funny to me right now. We have a phenomenal guest tonight.
I'm excited.
I'm extraordinarily excited. So we have Tim Shaw tonight, uh,
We do.
which is kind of legendary and
Mm,
kind of amazing. And this guy is so cool. We were talking to him beforehand, but he's really, really cool. So let me get back to actually discussing him in words that are outside of this is so cool.
that would be great.
Yeah, so he is a lifelong researcher in the fields of the paranormal and the metaphysical. He is also a successful author, lecturer, media personality, and photographer. He has appeared on Discovery Channel, Sci-Fi Spike, Destination America, and the Travel Channels. He's been all over the place, and we have so much more to inform you about him, but we're going to let him do it. So please help me welcome him.
Hi guys, how you
Hello,
doing?
welcome.
Oh,
Hello.
It's good to see you guys.
It's been so long.
I
If I
know.
listen, if I had known that this was going to be such a party, I would have combed my hair or something today. You know,
It looks lovely. You're doing fine. You're doing fine. Very.
it's a little, a little shaggy, but you
No,
know
it's
how it
good.
is.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
it's cool.
Shaggy
It's
is
cool.
cool right now.
Listen, it's cool and it's breezy. Let me tell you, it's very cool.
Listen, the first question that I have for you is not about the paranormal, but it was in the bio that I was reading about you that
Mhm.
you were into some really very cool stuff, historical reenactment, but not
Yes,
only that, but I don't
yes,
flint napping, which is
yeah,
stone tool making.
yes. Yeah, we're
Mm,
going back to the Neolithic time period, 3 to 5 thousand years ago.
that's
Huh,
so cool. Did you just decide like this is going to be a thing that I'm going to make now?
You know what?
I love that.
You know what happened is I was brought up with all this hoodoo doo doo stuff, and I walked away from it for about maybe a decade or so, and I actually got back into it through Native American indigenous life ways, and one of the things that I picked up and I got a chance to hang out with some pretty cool people were these flint nappers. So we were going and I just thought it was so fascinating to take a rock or like, if you're like lazy like me, you go hunting for like wine bottles. Sometimes you have to empty them yourself and use the bottom. And you
Mhm,
actually,
mhm,
it happens. Listen, it works great.
mhm,
They look
mhm,
beautiful
mhm.
when you're done.
Yep,
And
yep.
but I mean, I went and I took a class with a couple good, some people that knew what they were doing, and uh, one thing led to another. And yeah, I love it. I mean, it's so great when you take a piece of flint or what we up here is chert, and you make it. You take a rock, and next thing you sit around, in a circle, and you talk, and it's very very communal, and you create something, and you create a tool. And sometimes these tools are these points, these arrowheads are just like absolutely gorgeous, and
Yeah.
you start looking at it going, I made that, really? And it's harkening back to our primal selves.
Hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of people nowadays miss, especially in metaphysics. uh, our primal selves is something that we draw upon in order to go and do what we do, as mediumship or psychics and all that. And I feel that it's missing. And I think a lot of people should really try to take that little step back and learn something that is, I would say, earth related.
Yeah.
Oh.
I love this, and especially okay, this is coming from a girl who had like the full on like almost like Little House on the Prairie
Oh,
get up.
cool.
Yeah, when I was like I will weave you a basket. I will do some looming.
Whether you like it or
I
not, she will.
I'll
textile
take it.
arts.
Mhm.
I'm
Oh,
into
I
it.
will.
So I love this, but I had never really connected that to getting into like a metaphysical sort of practice, but that makes complete sense.
Well, I took classes with the late Tom Brown Jr., who was a tracker and an American mystic. And I took classes with him up at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York, and it was basically it was natural awareness, but it was even more than that. I mean, it pushed you to a limit. But he explained to me that all of what we do, like as mediums and psychics and sensitives, or whatever the hell you want to call us people, or all of us, because we're all part of it, it's all intrinsic. It's muscle memory. We needed all of this. I don't even know what you would call it. You needed to be able to go and live, and you had to have your tribe survive. And how did you do that? Well, you had to project forward. You had to know where all the safety was, where the fresh water was, where warning tribes were. You needed that, and all you have to do is recall it back. And that's when I teach like students that everybody's like going, well, Tim, I don't know if I can do this. Well, it's not that hard. All you have to do is really open yourself up to it and get to that primal self. And it's just a seventh, just a sense, like 6, 7 senses. That's all it is. And with the right encouragement and with the right work, all of a sudden it's open and you're there. And people don't get that. People don't understand that this is something that is part of our primitive heritage. And it's all within each and every one of us. It's like almost it's that survival heritage that we have. And and as time went on, I mean, let's face it, we all started living behind fences and walls, became agricultural, and we started to lose this, and we didn't need it anymore. Right. Now we recall it back. And to me, when I teach mediumship, that's the quickest way that I know. I mean, I've been taking classes and taught all different ways of doing stuff, and it's like all gobbledygook up here. But for me, it's like I use the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And in order to do that, you just pull it out of yourself, and all it is just remembering and letting your body remember. That's all it is.
It's like instinct, basically.
It is very much so.
Well, it's wild because you think about it, right? Like I had a conversation with the grandson of a Mayan like medicine man, essentially.
Very
and we
cool.
were talking
Very
about
cool. Yeah.
And we were talking about this theory of like ancient aliens, and he was like no, like here's the problem, and he just like held up his phone, and he was like, well, we've blocked ourselves off from these things that we once knew.
Exactly.
And it's true. I mean, you look at like the field of addictions, for example, like you build something into your lizard brain and then it can grow and shrink with time. So these things could be just something that has shrunk.
Exactly.
Boom. All right. This is really cool.
But but seriously, it, a lot of people, when they start looking at shamanics, I've studied with different medicine men, and I've known a couple cool people, that we may or may not have. Well, we're not going to go into. I lived through disco, so we're not going to go any further than that. But I will say that it's just a recall, and it's so simple because what we're doing is we're dealing with energy, and we're dealing with being able to go and focus that energy in a way that we need to focus it. And I mean, we start, a lot of it is ancestral worship, and a lot of it is, revolves around that. But again, I mean, what is ancestral worship? You start looking in a calm pool of water and you see your own reflection. Well, ancient man thought that was, an ancestor, their reflection. Yeah. They did not know what that was. And when they started staring into it, what happens? Now you're using that focal energy to scry. And now you're going to go and pull that out. This is all part of it. It's that knowing, it's that feeling. And it's so basic and it's so just easy. But we're people. What happens with people? We make everything hard.
Yep. That makes us sound smarter. I like this because there's been a lot, I feel anyway, a lot of talk about generational trauma lately. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is like the sunny side. Like, oh no, there's positivity in generational memories as well.
Well,
it's not all bad.
Right. There's stuff built into you from past generations. It's not all bad.
A friend of mine is a Strega. She's of the Strega tradition. And a lot of that is generational curses and that sort of thing. When you start looking at stuff like that, how can we heal that? Well, now, if we can work our way back enough to recognize it, to accept it, and to forgive, which is like the hardest thing. All of a sudden now it starts to ease up and it starts to get lighter. That is why I think it's so important to really understand ancestral worship and ancestral any kind of ancestral generational work. It's like soul fractionations. I mean, I'm a huge follower of Sandra Ingerman, you know, and her shamanic work with soul fractionations and soul retrieval. And you start realizing that we're made up of stars, basically. And all of this comes in. And then whether you believe it's a soul or whatever, everything comes together. I mean, in order to create who we are. Well, we're bringing all this stuff in. And not only that, we're also bringing in all of this great stuff from our parents, you know, as the son of alcohol, you know, of an alcoholic mother, and you know, and my father's side they were no angels. You also have that stuff coming in. So a lot of that, you have to really understand that there's so much within you that you can pull out, and you can try to work towards that positive goal, even if it is generational trauma. And you have to worry about that. Now, again, I'm not a therapist or anything, you know, I don't even play one on TV anymore. But, you know, I mean, the idea is that, you know, it's one step at a time and trying to see clear. And that's tough. And it's tough. And, you know, for me, I mean, I'm just because I was lucky and I got a chance to really understand this and, really talk to some really great. I knew the late Warren Sky. He was a Pine Tree Chief of the Seneca Nation here in New York State. He was great. He was great. He was funny, but I mean, he would tell you things like that where it's like, well, you know, yes, this is all part of you. Now, what are you going to do with it? Can you heal it yourself? Can you go and can you work with somebody? And that's why. You know, and I think because of our society being so alienated, you know, we are an alienated population.
Absolutely.
And I think that we are able to go and find those people that can help us, whether it's a shaman, whether it's a therapist. I call my therapist a shaman. She likes it, you know, you know, but that's what it is. And I mean, that is exactly, you know, you become that warrior. That's all part of the warrior mentality, to seek help when you need it, to recognize within yourself your flaws and work on them to become better. And then you go into the Nietzschean philosophy, the Uberman, and all that other good stuff. So I don't want to bore you with that stuff, man. That's like philosophy, like 101, you know. And everybody in class is like this. Oh dear God, shut up.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's totally like the touchstone of any growth, right? Is you got to go back and look at that stuff and acknowledge it and understand.
Right. You can't walk forward without looking behind you. That is what is so important.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Tressa. Again, I lived through disco. Don't worry about it. I got it handled for me. You're all set. I can handle if I could handle the mirror ball, you can handle anything.
Sir. We'll talk about that right after this.
For those of you naysayers, I want you to know how much I appreciate how many of you grabbed a hold of my small package after last week's show. It is out and available. You can get both of my books, The Other Side, A Guide to the Paranormal and Ghost Hunting, and my brand new book, Theater of the Mind, Tales from the Darkness. Both books are out. One, of course, kind of a how-to ghost hunt book, and the other story book of strange supernatural occurrences all around the world. You can get your hand on my small package by just ordering it right off of my website. You can go right to paranormal60.com, scroll down on the front page there, or go to the shop and scroll down and you'll see our book bundle. And I was so humbled by the fact of how many men put their hands on my small package at the end of last week's show and bought it. It was great. It made me feel loved and wanted. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, that Dave.
Dave has never changed. As long as I've known him, he has never changed. He's always been the same.
And don't ever do that. Don't ever change, David.
No. Don't do it.
Jeni, I love where you took that first part of the conversation. What do you got next for us?
Wow.
Because we're
So
not going to
you
talk about
mentioned
me. Unless.
no. No.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So you had mentioned that you had kind of pushed away sort of that metaphysical sort of spiritualism portion that you kind of grew up with. Were you investigating like into the paranormal when you were pushing it away, or did you? How
No.
did that go?
I mean, I hate to even say this, but I was like introduced into the Lilydale Spiritualist Assembly here in Western New York about 1972. And I
Oh,
was
that
a
was
kid.
pre-disco, so let's hear it.
Not by much, let me tell you, not by much. Give you know, but I was, you know, I mean, I had gone through Lyceum, which is a Sunday school, and during the school year, I went to a Polish Catholic school, and during the summer we went out to visit relatives in Lilydale, and there was no such thing as paranormal investigations, but it was called spirit rescue. And what we did, and I was like, I don't know, maybe 13 years old, 14 years old when I first went to my first spirit rescue, and they took mediums, and we'd go in these houses, and you know, and you would invoke, trying to get the spirit, you know, to interact with you, and then you know, try to convince it to move on, and stuff would happen, you know, and just like the normal paranormal stuff, where you know, stuff would get knocked off a shelf, or to be footsteps, or you know, voices and that sort of stuff. And it
Doors
was
open.
it was pretty cool. And then of course, like I say, I turned about 18 years old, and it was like sex, drug, and rock and roll, and it was like, no, I'm
Well,
done.
yeah.
Yeah, I've had
Yeah.
enough of this stuff.
Of
And
course.
you know, because I had been pretty serious in it, especially after I
Okay.
graduated from high school. And
Wait, which part? The sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or the
oh,
spiritual
listen,
ghost hunting?
I have medals about that. I am, if there was an Olympic sport, I would have won gold. Let me tell you, I would have won gold.
Wow.
I did win gold. I met my wife at a disco. What am I going to
See?
say?
Oh,
That's
you
what-
did that. Oh,
I was
you,
a
sir.
bouncer. I was
That
a
is a-
bouncer. You know, we've been
that
married
is a
40
sweet
like
thing.
2 years now. You know, so
Adorable.
it's like, you know, it's like one of those things where, you know, I got the gold medal, but when I left, I concentrated more on reality. And you know, it's so funny because it's like, you know, I started getting involved with all this backwoodsman stuff on history, hardcore history. I'd always been a history guy, but
Okay.
really hardcore history, and getting out there and living off the land and doing survival work and stuff. And I absolutely loved it. And excuse me, and all part of it was, you know, all your philosophy and all this wonderful stuff that's all wrapped around it. You know, the flint napping, and living out of a pack, or going out in the woods literally with, you know, a fanny pack, and that's all you had for like a few days. And it was just great. Well, I started getting back, and I started getting involved with Native American philosophies and their healing techniques, and then I stumbled into Reiki, and took my training, and next thing I know, I was right back to where I was, you know, and things just accelerated. And I got married like in 82. So I probably started accelerating and getting into it probably about 80, 81. So I had a few years in between that I just didn't want anything to do with it. And I kind of rebelled against it. But once it took hold, I just didn't stop. I was well on my way.
Oh, that is.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that so much.
You knew your mission. I just had to take a little vacation, make sure.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I always tell people, listen, you can sidestep all this all you want, but once the door is open, it ain't never going to shut. So you might listen. You got a choice: embrace it or be miserable. So, you know, instead of me waking up in the middle of the night going, get out of my bedroom, you know, to something that's in there, just say, hey, what's going on? Yeah, jump in. You know, what the hell, you know.
Can I get you some coffee?
Yeah, you know. Let me put that would you like that croissant warmed up? You know, just have a seat. But yeah, you know, so it is funny. But you know, when I started the unfoldment process, and I mean, I had worked on it, and the unfoldment process is where you really get serious in mediumship, and you start doing the communication thing. And I always remember, first of all, my wife always said, I always knew you were into this stuff. I don't want to say the S word, because, I don't want people to turn off. But I always knew you were into this stuff, but I never knew how deep it was, So,
Okay.
because I had taken her out to Lilydale and showed her, places where I, hung out and stuff.
And by then it was too late. You got her.
Yep.
It's like getting a bad tattoo. It's always with you. It really is. I don't care if they're going to try to laser it off. No, that ink is in you. And and it just started. It really started working from there. And I started serving some churches, spiritualist churches, and I really got serious into it again, into the philosophy of spiritualism. And then the Native American shamanism just took hold, and my friends, I started meeting people that were really cool. I knew like the late Ray Buckland. I met him in Lilydale of all places. And, we were friends, over the years, and he taught me a lot. And I started, and this is my philosophy. And I always think to myself, what a lucky SOB I am, because it's like I never went out to meet anybody.
Yeah.
But I met people. No, I take that back. John Zaff is the only guy I actually set out to meet. But everybody else
set out to meet that guy, though?
Oh, please.
Let's be honest.
Please. John Zaff is he's the old man. He's 3 months older than me. He's the old guy. We spent 28 sorted hours in the men's room of the Detroit airport during a tornado warning. And we couldn't get off the ground, and we got stuck there going up to Sault Ste. Marie. So, yeah.
Did you need to spend the whole 28 hours in the men's room?
They wouldn't let us at the gate because they were afraid that the hail was going to blow the windows out.
Oh my God.
That makes sense.
I mean, it's like, and hey, I had Patty Negri, the White Witch of Hollywood.
Yeah.
She was there with us. Listen, it was a party. Wheelchairs in there. That's where we were sleeping. There's always a party. Whenever Johnny's in there, there's a party going on.
That sounds almost as good, if not as good, as the Michigan Paracon, which is great.
Yeah.
Come on.
You know what? The Paracon last year was the last year for it. And I can't. And you know what? I understand. I truly understand why. Because it's such a astronomical undertaking.
Yeah.
And
huge.
They went, and those guys did an unbelievable job. And I was up there 12 years. I think I was 15 years they were up there. I was up there 12 years. And they took a chance on this kid. I mean, I was, I had an agent at the time, and they didn't like the gallery readers that they had. And they said, and my agent said, well, why don't you try this guy, and they brought me in, and God knows. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why they kept bringing me back, but they did. And I'll tell you why, because when I do gallery readings, I throw candy and Mardi Gras beads, I make
Come on.
I like candy.
Hey, you gotta bring that. I'm a rather lazy medium, so I go and I make sure I raise that vibration by hook or by crook. Are you kidding me? I don't want to work hard. I'm in a casino. What the hell's wrong with you?
The smartest thing I've ever heard.
Yes, work smarter, not harder. Let's go. Who doesn't love candy?
Listen, next time I need Tressa to pay attention, I'm going to start throwing candy and beads at her.
Well, you know why I started throwing candy? I'll tell you why. Because working in casinos, and the 9 o'clock Saturday night is the worst. It is like I call it the drunk gallery. So you're up there and you're getting everybody going, and they're all making noise and they're laughing. They're all half in the bag. So I went and I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get Chewies.
I'm going to beg them with candy.
So I had I went to the dollar store, bought $20 worth of candy. And whenever they would start doing that, I would just wail like a handful of candy at them. And it was great because everybody would laugh. So the energy goes up. Then these people are stuffing candy in their mouths. So you're going, so they can't talk or they can't yell. So it works out. Hey, I got to the point where I could bounce it off. I could bounce candy off the ceiling and hit wherever I wanted to go. I destroyed them.
You might be the smartest man alive.
Listen, you got to have a shtick. Sometimes you got to keep them going, babe. You got to keep them going, But no, I think we talked off air. It's like you got to do it from a higher plane, like joy and happiness. And if you want to, I know so many mediums that are just like, they go to these psychic fairs and they're just like, or they look like olive oil or low boy, and they're just
Right.
like miserable and stuff. And you can't do that. You have to be happy to do that. In order to really get a good connection with that person, you have to be happy, and the energy is up there, and it's great. It's just so great. I did a combo gallery with Exie Smith, and I love her to death, and it was great. That was, as a matter of fact, that's when I got stuck in Detroit, and my luggage was outside and got wet. So like I had like 15 minutes to like put on my wet clothes, change my clothes, put on my damn clothes,
No.
get down there to the hall, and it was great. In the middle of it, what happens? Her phone rings, and it's her husband's doctor's office calling to set something up. So of course I got to answer it, So right in the middle, we're going, oh, hold on, guys, hold on, and I'm talking to this nurse, and I'm like. But that's the fun stuff, and you got to be able to go, and you got to be able to take that and run with it and have fun, and and I think what I love about it is the fact that people remember it.
Sure.
People
Yeah.
come back every year, and they say this is great. And I mean, I do some fundraisers and charities here, and I do the same thing, and people love that because you've got the worst thing I've ever seen, the worst thing I've ever experienced was working churches, being at the pulpit. You're above the people, and it's like that sucks. You want to be with the people, you want to be part of the people, you want to be with the congregation, you want to, and I always have like really terrible jokes, where does Dracula like to eat his lunch? In the coffee. And it's like we're here all week, right? Be kind to your servers, and then you go back and you hit them with with whatever whatever message is coming through.
Yeah.
But you want to be able to do that. You always want to be able to be personable,
Right.
and this way people understand it and people enjoy what you're doing. And if you have a message, they'll pick up the message. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're happy. They'll remember that. They won't be sitting there like dull, like their faces are glazed over. And you want to do that, and you learn to do that. And that's something that I swear to myself that I would never be a boring lecturer.
Well, I think anybody's going to respond better to it. Well, anybody but Tressa is going to respond better to cheeriness and optimism. She doesn't understand the words that I'm using.
I can't read.
Ouch, 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 ouch.
I love you so much. I love you so much. So
Tressa, come back. We love you.
I just had to get some chapstick.
Nice. Good call. Mm-hmm. So now, how does this translate for you into being you've been into some scary places, right? Like in some of these investigations, like
I have to say, I've never been in a scary place. I've run into some scary people.
Yeah.
I've run into
Tell
very
us some
scary
stories.
People.
Okay.
Well,
I like this.
I mean, I think the biggest problem that people have is this preconceived Christian notion that everything's demonic and everything is nasty. And well, I come from this like radical spiritualist thing where it's like I call them like energetic personalities. I don't call them really spirits. I don't call them And the reason why I do this, because I think everything is energy. I believe everything is energy. Energy, of course, we know the energy can't be destroyed. It just changes form. So I believe that the personality is all part of it. It's our part. This part of that gray matter that's in that's contained in this dome here. And what I love is the fact that when you walk in there, you can feel it. You can feel what's going on there. And the big thing is that I'm going to be honest with you. I've been scratched. I've been pushed. Last year, actually, was the first time I got knocked right to the floor at a friend of mine's place. And
what did you say to him that he did that to you?
Oh no, I didn't say anything. I think what happened was whatever it was coming by me and was heading towards another guy to kind of, I don't know what. He's been scratched and he's been pushed a couple times. And what happened was I was walking across, and it was kind of active. It was an active night. It was a weird night. Everybody was kind of, like different, like had personality things, little quirks going on. Okay. And you could see it. And as I was walking by, I felt what's felt like, and it was cold. I think I figured November maybe. I had a coat on, and I could feel a hand grab my right bicep, and it spun me. But it was so gentle. But it spun me around, and all of a sudden, I'm dropping to the floor. And a friend of mine said it's the slowest I've ever. It was like somebody was holding you and bringing you down real slowly. And I hit the, listen, I'm no lightweight, man. I figured I'm going to hit that floor about 90 miles an hour. It went down. I went down so slow. I didn't have a bruise, nothing. But the velocity was so strong, it knocked one of my sneakers off about 4 feet. And it was, and I mean, when I hear the recording, we were, the audio of it, all you hear is Tim's down. Oh my God.
Oh, no.
and you hear me go, yeah, SOB. Actually, I said other things than that. I said, you finally got me, didn't you? Yeah, you finally got me. But I really felt, exorcists call it the gift of discernment, which where you get that butterfly in the solar plexus if you get something that's nasty or negative that you're walking into. And I didn't have that at all. So I don't think it was after me. I think I just was like hapless, and the energy was going forward, and that knocked me down pretty good. And then like a Virgin House here in New York State. I was going up the stairs, and I felt like something was like pushing me right back down the stairs. And actually I slipped one stair, and I got to the top of this. Finally, when I got to the top of the stairs, I kind of grabbed there's like a little banister, and I pulled myself up, and I got a burning sensation in my, my right forearm. And I had about a good 6 inch scratch there. That was one where I did feel something that was like really not pleasant,
Yeah.
But it's too many people worry about demons and being possessed and stuff. But if you look into what it takes to be possessed, you got to kind of, you got to kind of, allow it. And one of the best books I ever read was by the late Father Malachi Martin, Hostage to the Devil. And it's probably it's probably one of the best books I've ever read. It's the seminal book that I recommend to anybody that has worked with anything negative. And, and then of course, working with Jeni, we do know about all the different steps that go into it. And I wrote a book on a case that happened at a college in Geneseo, New York in the 80s, and how, infestation and oppression starts, and how it starts to tear the person down. And all that has to be present. Too many people worry about walking into places and having some negative, attachment as you're walking out. I've been doing this for a long time. I got one attachment because I thought I was the cock of the walk there. I thought I was like, I was the coolest cat out there, and I let myself open up a little bit, and it was an equalizer. But that's the only time I ever got anything. And you have to be able to go, and if you're afraid, I'm not talking like leery. I don't like the dark. I don't like dark rooms. I'm always leery with dark rooms. But if you're afraid, well, what do you think is going to attract it? And again, as a spiritualist, we're taught natural laws. One of the laws is like attracts like. So what's going to happen? You're going to bring that stuff to you. And people are just, so afraid that they're going to take something home with them. And it can happen. Yeah, it can happen. But usually it's about 4 days, and then it kind of dissipates, but people don't know that. And they go into they put themselves in harm's way sometimes without knowing what to do. And with me, right from the beginning, it's always been second nature. I've never really cared. I've been driven. I've only been driven out of one location in my entire life. And we've had some really crazy experiences over the years. We were at Mansfield Reformatory. I love Mansfield Reformatory.
Oh, we just talked to Greg and Kathy. Yeah.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah,
they're fantastic.
I'll be there. Was it the 15th, 16th? I'll be there. I think because that's their event is then. And we went in there for a private, and a friend of mine is a retired corrections officer. And our other friend is like a private investigator.
Oh.
So we're going to go and we're going to, now people are like, oh, this is provoking. No, this is reenacting. There's a whole different story. You know, there's a fine razor's edge on this. And we went and we handcuffed him. This guy's 6'3" and he's my trainer. He's a weightlifter, right? Got to grab his arms and pull them together to get the cuffs behind his back. She's got him in a wrist hold and walking him, and we're going into solitaire. And I mean, we're doing the perf walk and everything. We get him in there, and his first birth, my buddy Frank, he's probably listening tonight. His first birth was Sing Sing. That's where he started out his career.
Okay.
And I mean,
Heck of a start.
Oh, it's perfect for him, but that's a whole other story. But so he's like, you know, he's worked these maximum security prisons, and he knows what it's like. And he's like screaming and he's swearing and this is my, you know, he's really just going and he's kind of kicking the bars and stuff and making all this racket. And we got him in the cell. And we got the cell door closed. I always love this. This was one of my favorite stories. I love what an experience this was. So we're there, and all of a sudden, the temperature is dropping. And my friend who's behind me goes, Tim, it's down 17 degrees. It dropped 17 degrees. And now you can almost see your breath. I mean, it's at that point where, like, if you breathe heavy enough, you could see your breath, but, you know, you can see it. Now he's in there and he's acting up. We have meters and everything in there. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening at all. But on the outside, everything is lighting up. Everything is like really, you can feel the oppression. You can feel that barometric pressure starting to drop. You know, that's when you know this stuff is going to happen. That barometric pressure starts jumping around, you know. And, you know, it was great. And all of a sudden, my buddy's son, who's standing next to me, goes, you feel that? There was a cold breeze coming out of his cell. It was frigid. It was like, you know what it's like, you know, you ever see those horror movies where it's like, you know, the cold air is coming out at you.
And like icicles happen?
Yeah, pretty much. It was cold. It was that cold.
Oh.
And he's like, you know, hey, and he's going on. And the more he acted up, the more air is coming out at us. And there's no fan, there's no circulation in that area. So we decided, our friend Heather, who had handcuffed him, she went and she turned on, I call them squawk boxes, you know, I mean, they're, because I remember the Radio Shack hacks, and it's like, they used to give me a nosebleed. I couldn't stand them. Like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore. But so we had it on, and all of a sudden, you could hear it like drop like a frequency. And it was kind of weird because it would like drop a little bit, and you'd hear, you hear like, like, I forget what he said, and it said, kill him.
Oh,
as clear, like somebody saying, kill him. And we're like, oh, kill him. And it was great because we're all like
playing along.
Did that just say kill him? And everybody's going, oh yeah, it did. Like, okay. And I think Heather said, how many? And it said 12. How many are here? It's 12. And we're like, no, we're not going to kill him. I don't care what. And you know what it said? Almost in real time.
What?
We'll wait.
Oh.
We'll wait. I love it. I love it.
Oh, that is so good.
And it was, and
really
the cell
good.
block went into it was a corridor that went into a solid wall. And at the end of the corridor, in the ambient light, you could see things like moving. Like I call them creepers. They're like, they look like,
they're so awful.
yeah, they're like, they look like woolly caterpillars and stuff, and they're creeping around back in there. And my buddy was like, he had never worked with us before, and it's like, I don't know, and what happened was he had been yelling so much. These two ladies that went out for a smoke, they heard and they came over. And what happens is, like seance, because you get a bubble. Mm-hmm. And what happens is when you introduce different energy, all of a sudden it'll collapse. And the minute we were probably going full bore, probably about an hour. And the minute they came, it just kind of collapsed in. And that was great. I mean, that was great. But, I got to tell you, some people were a little nervous and upset because they didn't know what it was, and right away it's a demon and all that.
Mhm.
It's like, no, it's not a demon.
Well.
It's just an energetic personality. It wasn't residual because it was interacting with us, but it was the idea that, you know, you don't worry about it, but you could feel like I could feel in my solar plexus a little bit. It's like, it wasn't
Mhm.
bad, you know, it wasn't that like, you know, that puke feeling, but it just went and was, you know, what it was. You know, you could just
Yeah.
feel a little pressure in there. So yeah, that's great. Fort Niagara was another one that I was at years ago. That was a
hold
docent.
on. Oh, let's take a look at this break right before Fort Niagara.
A vampire in Rhode Island?
A UFO crash in Connecticut?
A flying moose in Maine?
A haunted bridge that calls your name?
New England is weird.
Really weird.
Wicked Strange by Jeff Belanger and Frank Grace is your ticket to the bizarre. Ghosts, monsters, urban legends, and roadside oddities you won't believe until you see them.
So pre-order now on Amazon. It drops September 2nd.
Assuming the Black Dog of West Peak doesn't get you first.
Let's get strange.
Wicked Strange. Pre-order your copy now on Amazon.
I told you my segues were great.
So perfect.
Tressa,
Yeah.
next time, I'm telling you,
Uh-huh.
buy this product or die. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do.
Yeah,
and everybody's
No.
gonna love it.
Listen.
I
Tim,
didn't want to
you are
premiere that while you were
fantastic.
here. It would be
I
embarrassing.
think that you are amazing, but we're trying to get Tressa to stop threatening anyone.
But it's so fun.
Really,
You keep trying
yeah.
to censor me. Stop censoring
I
me.
do.
Jenny.
Primarily just the killing and the chicken bombs. That's it.
Oh, do you
that's
know
all I
about the
said.
chicken
Nope.
bombs? You just put a raw
Listen.
chicken in a giant mason jar and leave it in a vent. After
Oh,
the
that'll
heat
work cool,
turns
yeah.
on, it's like delightful
again,
for people
Monsters
that aren't
Lounge
there.
Does not
That's great.
condone vandalism or anything that could be perceived as vandalism. But please do.
I love that.
Niagara?
I don't know if I can top the chicken bomb.
I know, it's a great idea for anyone you don't
Hey,
like.
Monsters Lounge podcast does not condone nor encourage the use of said chicken bomb.
I do.
love it. But Fort Niagara, I was a docent up there for a number of years,
Nice.
and we were waiting for a group to come in, and they never came. And they had paid their money and everything, and so I was supposed to be up there settling them in, and you stay overnight. So I'm never show up. So it's like I got a 45-minute ride home. I don't feel like driving home. I stayed in this place, and it's an old stone fort. I mean, countless people died there. I mean, the history is like really crazy. LaSalle lost 50 men. When he was an explorer at this point.
Oh,
you
wow.
had you had during the War of 1812 or the Revolutionary War, you had the Sullivan Clinton campaign that forced the Iroquois British allied warriors up towards Fort Niagara, which was British held. They figure about 3,000 warriors and family died outside the fort walls, and you've got also War of 1812. You've had there was a pretty bad battle there. I think it was Christmas Eve battle. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened up there. So I'm in this large, they call it a manor house, a castle, and it was built by the French. And so I'm in there, and they have a boulangerie, which is a French kitchen. So I'm sitting in there by myself. I got everything all locked down. And I'm going to sleep there. I got a fire going. It's nice and warm. It's really great. Again, I mean, I've been in every place, every inch of that fort. And I, as a docent, you just, you hear shit, but who cares, but you do. Well, I'm in there, and there's a Coast Guard base next door, so you got to kind of discern what's what. So I'm in there, and all of a sudden, like, I don't know, about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, I hear boom, 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 bang. And I'm like, is somebody in here? So I go and I take my flashlight and I go up. There's, there's an attic and there's a second floor and a first floor. Go up there and I'm checking everything. I'm checking underneath beds. I'm checking in the armoires and all that. Nothing, nobody. None of the doors are shut. There's no wind coming in, So I get back down there and I'm laying in front of the fire, I'm kind of relaxing, and all of a sudden here, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, you what? And I did it again. So I walk a second time, do the whole walk. Third time, I'm laying there and I hear boom, 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 and I went, "You effing son of a, shut up! I'm trying to sleep." Right? And you got to understand, when you do this as long as I have, you think you talk to whatever the way I would talk to my friends.
Yeah.
You just do. It's just a natural thing. Well, all of a sudden it got deadly quiet. And again, remember I talked about how the barometric pressure drops? Well, this thing just dropped. I mean, it was like going right through the floor. I went, "Oh no." And I hear footsteps, and there's like stairs coming down, and you can hear reenacting boots and period shoes had iron horseshoes on the heels, so they wouldn't wear out that fast. And you could hear them hitting the wood stairs coming down. At that point, I said, "Feet don't fail me now." I was gone. I mean, I went down, had to go down this, everything was locked up. I had to go down this long hallway, and the only way to get out was at the very end of this hallway where there was a men's room and a woman's room. And the woman's room actually is where the alarm was set. I go sliding through that door. I'm in the woman's room. I'm all set to hit the ADT alarm, and guess what? They had changed the code. So
No.
yeah. So I mean, what are you going to do? And no, it's like late, and I'm not going to call the executive director or anybody in town. It's like, what are you going to do? So I went out and I had this little Chevy S10. I pulled it in, sat it in front of this building, cracked the windows open this much. Now I'm 6'2". I got into the front seat of the Chevy S10 in a fetal position with the blanket over my head, because that is how messed up my brain was, And again, I'm there by myself. And at like 7:30 in the morning, the maintenance guys are knocking on there. Scared you finally? Because I used to mock those guys out for always being, afraid of stuff,
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, that's the only place that ever drove me out of all the places I've been. It's the only place. And I mean, I've woken up. One of the greatest places I ever was at was recently, about a year ago. We went to the Grand Midway Hotel. Grand Midway Hotel is a haunted place, and it is wild because it is like thriller horror on acid. That's what this place is like. It's in Windberg, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And
it is great. They got a Ouija board painted on the roof. There's a flat roof on part of the building. It's great. Oh, it's great.
Okay.
They have theme rooms. They have like the werewolf room. You walk in, there's like deer hooves, like they're torn off. And you hit them and you get hit in the head with them. So you walk in.
That is fun.
I
love a theme room.
Oh, they have. I was gonna sleep in this one room. It had Ouija boards and everything. This is great. It had a big, huge, like saint, some kind of saint statue in there. But they had a life-size Reagan from The Exorcist in the friggin' closet. No, I draw the line back in. That's one of the first horror movies I ever saw in my life. Had nightmares after it. So I was like, no. So on the third floor. I'm old, so I'm going to go and do something, sensible. I'm going to take the room across from the bathroom, right? So it was the demon room, appropriately. And a guy who used to rent these rooms out, like apartments of students and stuff. Well, this guy was an artist, and he used to be like a gimp. He used to get like a suit, and he used to suspend himself from chains in the room and stuff, which I thought was really kind of pretty cool. Living through disco, of course,
Sure.
So he actually, what happened was I think he became a Jehovah's Witness or something. And
As one does.
It happens.
A lot.
Yeah, it actually does. And he burned a lot of his paintings, but they were able to salvage some. So in this room, there's about 4 or 5 paintings, and these paintings are rather large. And and there's this painting at the foot of my bed. And I was reading, I don't know, about reading to like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and I fell asleep with the light on. So I woke up and I looked up, and there is like this 7-foot naked demon at the end of my bed looking at me. And I am going, oh shit, no, what is this? And it took me a few minutes to go and realize that it was a painting. Okay. But by this time, my bladder had said, it's time to go because we don't know. So now the bathroom is across from my room, right? You think that would be an easy haul? No, there's a giant Pennywise statue there with the hands like this, and I have to run underneath to get to the bathroom. So
did you make it in time?
Oh, no problem.
Okay.
Listen. I got that covered. I'm just going to tell you what, it's great. And they have like a Harry Potter room, and they've got
Oh my gosh.
they have a great vampire room. My buddy Frank slept in the vampire room. It's a goth room. It's so cool. It's all
Nice.
red and and then in the closet, you go through the closet and it goes into a secret, like another room. It's a crypt, and they got all these
Yeah.
coffins in there. You got to try it out, man. The guy's name is Blair. I love this guy, and it's just a great place. It's
I
really
love a theme room. I love a secret room.
and
Come on.
you
That's
guys
true.
probably
It's two
probably
things you always
remember Anne Rice, and when she was down in New Orleans, she had a doll museum because she collected dolls. And
Yeah.
Before she passed away, she had sold off the doll museum. Well, half of the collection is actually in this building. There's a whole just full of dolls. It's so cool, And then we did a seance in the dining room. They got this long, beautiful table and these high back chairs, and it's great because we're doing doing the our meter stuff, and then we, of course, I got to break out. I brought I brought a Ouija board, so we can play, and I got that going, and I said, well, you know what? Let me do a ritual. Let's see if we can open the door a little bit. And they got this big broadsword. So I grabbed this broadsword, and if you ever do some of these rituals, what you're doing is you're gonna do a pentagram, and that slices the etheric fabric, the veil, in order for things to come in and out. And when I did that, I reached up like this, and there was a moose head on the wall, and I whacked the moose head with the sword. It was great, but it was a phenomenal. It was just a phenomenal overnight, and we did get some activity.
Mhm.
But it was just a lot of fun. So these are things that so many people get so caught up in the collection of the evidence, which is it's important, but people forget sometimes that you should really kind of do stuff like this that's a little bit offbeat. You can still kind of go and be a good paranormal investigator, but it's offbeat enough that you can enjoy it and you can have a laugh, and there's a great pizzeria across the street, so life was good. So those are great.
Yeah.
Those are fun stuff to do.
Yeah,
I love that so
sounds
much. Yeah.
amazing. Super fun. I need the address and a website so I can visit that place.
Yeah, it's called the Grand Midway Hotel, Windber, Pennsylvania. It's actually not that far away from where the crash site from 9/11, the crash site that hit the and you know what, if you go down there, you must see that, because that is the energy that's there is overwhelming, and
I can imagine.
it's just it's a very, very sacred place, very, very sacred place.
I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine so.
Well,
All right, so Tressa's going to plan that trip.
Yes. I didn't necessarily want to end the show on that note, but we're at the end of the hour. Tell us all the things that people can find you at, or places. What am I trying to say, Jenny? I'm confused.
All right, you are trying to say that, first of all, please come back, because we got through like a quarter of the things that I'm super intrigued by.
Anytime.
Yes.
And you know what? I was so happy, that you guys asked me, and it was a great day to, the day was just perfect. All the stars are aligned. The moon is full. So
you're welcome.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing.
All right. We were also going to ask about where people can find you, where they can see you, where they can contact you, anything along those lines.
Well, on my Facebook, we have the Black Cat Lounge. I'll be running it like Thursdays around 8:00 this week, because I got a California guest. It'll be 9:00 to facilitate her. So that's always fun. And of course, I'll have stuff on YouTube. You guys can go and visit and see that stuff. But the fun stuff is really starting. May 10th, I'm going to be at an old cemetery, Concordia Cemetery in Buffalo, New York, where I am going to be speaking about Victorian mourning rituals and the spiritualist movement. And I'm going to have some of my collection there, the hair jewelry I have, and some of the old photographs, and some of the memento mori that I've collected over the years. So I'm going to bring that. And they have in their living room, the small living room is actually going to be turned into a room of sorrow, which is a wake with a coffin and the drapes over the top of the photos and stuff and those traditions. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, the 15th, 16th, I believe, right around there, we're going to be at Mansfield Reformatory, which is an amazing. If you've never been there, you've got to go there. It's an amazing, and
Sounds great.
It's a great, it's just a great place. I'm doing a lot of charity work this year. I'm working at Forsyth Tavern, which is an 1808 building in Cambria, New York. I'm going to be working there to raise money for them. I'm doing paranormal investigation, of course, the morning, and we're going to do dowsing. I'm going to teach dowsing to people. And then, of course, we're probably going to do something in the fall. I'm going to be at Sybil Phelps' 130th birthday in Palmyra, New York, which is a great place because the Phelps General Store, when they closed it in the 30s, guess what? They left everything there. They have eggs in there from the 30s.
Oh,
and there's like 90% of all the furniture and everything is all original. It's part of the Palmyra Historic Museum complex. It is an amazing place. You're right down the street from the birthplace of the Mormon religion, of course. And by the way, I did pick up a death mask of the prophet. Just to let you know, I do have that. And what's also nice about it is you're 15 minutes away from the heart of spiritualism, which is Hydesville, where the Fox Cottage actually was located. And right now it's underneath a pole building with plexiglass windows. You can see the foundation that's in there of the original place with that's a wonderful place. And I'll probably be I'll be bopping around. And again, my friends own a place called Art 247, which is the Western Block in Lockport, New York, along the Erie Canal. And that place is where I got knocked to the floor. And it is haunted. It is great. I mean, I love going in there. I'm always getting stuff. That's just wonderful. So they have tours, they have ghost hunts. I believe they're starting to work up where you can stay overnight. I think they're going to start that this year. So it's just a lot of fun. So I'm going to be working there this year. And you never. Oh, and I'm going to be in Virginia for the Sage Conference in Belgrove, Pennsylvania. My friend MJ Dixon is running it from England, and I'll be speaking there. I think I'm teaching seance there. I'm not quite. I'll worry about it when I get there.
That's fair. That's fair. And where can people find all of that information?
You can go on my website, www.timothytshaw.com. And one of these days, I might even update it.
That sounds boring. Tim Shaw, thank you so much for telling us all these great stories and experiences. This was a really, really fun episode.
Yeah.
We can't wait to bug you more.
Yep.
Listen, I'm retired. Let me know.
Of course.
Awesome.
I will. You're on our speed dial now.
It's the way it goes. What else do you want? Listen, this is you know what? I'm retired. What do I got to do? I go for
You're
coffee.
living the
now.
dream.
You know what I mean? I go for coffee now.
I love it.
I get it.
I love it.
And I lift weights and go for coffee. That's all I do.
Oh, that's the dream. Everybody else, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
And find our stuff on our website, monstersloungepodcast.com, and our socials, and say hi, because we like that.
We do.
So until next time, thanks for joining us at the Monsters Lounge.
I don't know what she's doing right now. Did you leave?